Let's bring in MS Now senior investigative reporter Carol Ledig, who helped break this story. Ned Price, Tim O'Brien, still with me on set. All right, Carol, what did you learn about the shortcuts that were taken to get this plane into service?
Well, first off, Alicia, this plane has been a controversy since Donald Trump decided to receive it as a gift from the Qataris. And it's been a controversy because it was a gift. But the other controversy was that you can't build a military plane in 15 months, and you can't retrofit a passenger jet into a military defense plane that's necessary to protect the leader of the free world on a foreign trip in 15 months. So we spent billions as taxpayers rushing in these upgrades that ultimately don't match or come close to matching what was on the old jet, the old Air Force One, which is called V-25A rather than V-25B. That old jet that Donald Trump has decried as ancient and embarrassing actually is superior to the one that he flew to Turkey upon.
And what do we know about their decision to bail on that jet and instead use the old one?
We are told three things, Alicia. One is that the old, I'm going to call it the old Air Force One, the original Air Force One, not the Qatari jet. That plane has a series of defensive capabilities. Surface-to-air missile defenses. It has an incredible command and control advanced secure communications package, basically turns Air Force One into a situation room so that the president can have secure communications with military leaders, with anyone anywhere on the globe, and it cannot be intercepted. And third, it has a medical suite that's equivalent to a Trauma One operating room in a U.S. hospital. And the most important thing we are told, Alicia, or we were told last night, is that command and control, the secure communications that is on the original Air Force One, is so superior and important that the president had to travel on it from Turkey to the UK. Remember, this decision was made Wednesday morning by the military and the Secret Service together. And Donald Trump gave some explanations that were not true for why they were switching out the plane. I know that from top national security officials who told me that Donald Trump's explanation was fabricated. And they made that decision as it was concluded that Donald Trump was going to be authorizing strikes upon Iran and ending the ceasefire. So if you are in a secure plane somewhere in the Middle East while we are ramping up hostilities with Iran, it's pretty important for you to both have all your military defenses, but especially that secure communications to discuss with your military leaders those strikes that you are literally authorizing from the plane.
Ned, I assume you have been on an Air Force One?
I have.
Okay. Would you have put your boss on this flight, and would you have allowed him to have made major international interventions from a plane that did not have these capabilities?
Well, I think by putting your boss on this flight, we're acknowledging, just as we heard from Carol, that we would accept this exorbitant price tag. This is the most expensive free jet that history has ever seen or will ever see, I assume. It's not just the hundreds of millions of dollars in upgrades required to retrofit this plane. And to be honest, we don't know the full bill because it's buried in a classified defense appropriation bill. But it is those hundreds of millions of dollars on top of the hundreds of millions of dollars that taxpayers will ultimately pay to unretrofit the plane when President Trump leaves office, because we are gifting this plane to him for, he says, his foundation. So this will be hundreds of millions of dollars as Boeing continues its longstanding project to upgrade 2 additional Boeing 747s that were supposed to be Air Force One. Also, President Trump, a little bit earlier, can fly in the utmost luxury. So the answer, Alicia, to your question is no. I don't think we would have.
Right, but the answer you are giving me, which I appreciate, is about the use of taxpayer money. But there's also simply the question of whether or not this is safe and secure.
Of course. And I think we got our answer yesterday. The fact that the Secret Service was so adamant in suggesting, because that's what the Secret Service does, they suggesting that the president should not fly on this plane yesterday. I think they were worried about 2 things primarily. One, secure communications, but then this risk of surface-to-air missiles, especially given the heightened threat environment that we're facing from Iran. There's a broader point here. Look, there were a number of times in my career across the CIA, the White House, the State Department, where we faced these similar operational security issues. Sure. And we couldn't divulge everything to the public because much of it is classified, as I assume much is here. But we didn't go out and lie. We didn't go out and mislead the public. It would have been perfectly acceptable, and I think people would have just accepted the answer had President Trump said, look, I can't tell you all the details, but I've been advised that I need to fly the old plane. It's fine by me. I'll fly in slightly less luxury for a couple hours, and then I'll get my new Qatari jet once again. Of course, that's not what he said. That's not in his constitution to say that, unfortunately.
I mean, who could have seen this coming?
Yeah, no one could have seen it coming. And it's another example of how utterly by the seat of the pants this administration runs its affairs, because presumably if it was dangerous for him to fly out of Turkey on that jet, it was dangerous for him to fly from the U.S. to Turkey on it. And the only difference possibly was he hadn't warned Iran in advance that he was going to attack them with missiles during a news conference. He's had a fascination with jets, obviously, his whole life. To top off what Ned was saying, this isn't the first round of taxpayer money that's gone into Trump jets. His own personal jet, the avionics, had to get retrofitted once he became an official candidate for the presidency in 2016 and was flying around on his Trump private jet, and taxpayer money's upgraded that. His residences have been upgraded. Again, all of this is worthy spending when you have to ensure the security of a powerful American diplomat or official. But in Donald Trump's world, it's not happening for that reason alone. It's also happening because it gilds his own ego. And the thing he doesn't want to say to the American public when he gets called about the jet or the reflecting pool or the White House the ballroom edition or grifting on crypto is that he's made mistakes, that he moved too quickly, that his judgment was rash, that he didn't consider everything he should consider as a manager of the biggest government in the world.
Carol, your sourcing inside the Secret Service is unparalleled. What have you heard from them about the pressure that this is putting on them, especially at a time when the agency is under-resourced?
You know, you gave me such a great opportunity, Alicia, to tell you that officially the Secret Service and the White House have declined to comment to us last night when we were breaking this story. But my Secret Service sources say that this has been painful for them. I use the term fabricated. The president fabricated an explanation, not lightly. Secret Service sources told me that there was no logic to what the president was saying about the Qatari jet being flown ahead of time to UK so it could be shown off to the troops. They said that was not the reason. It is difficult for them to navigate this incredible high wire act with President Trump. The Secret Service is very close to him and wants to be close to him for all the good security reasons that there are. They want to be on his shoulder. They want to be trusted so that they can protect his life, which is under constant threat. And yet they have to be sure that he is not ticked off when they provide explanations that are clear and transparent about the security reasons they want him on the much more advanced plane that he just does not like the color of. And he doesn't like the lack of leather seats. And he doesn't like that it's old. I remember visiting Donald Trump in 2021 for a book that I wrote about his first presidency. And he prominently pointed out to me and my co-author his replica of the jet he wanted in his first presidency that he never got. And it was almost like this fantasy that he had in 2021 for what could be. And now he has that fantasy in the Qatari jet. The only problem is it's not safe enough for him to fly on when we are in the middle of a hostile situation with another country, one that he chose to be hostile with.
Who needs safety and security when you have leather interiors? Carol Leonnig, thank you so much for bringing us your reporting. Ned Price, thank you for being at the table. Tim is sticking with me.